get the ones they didn't. Until somebody gets frustrated and runs a report. You took 25 leads. Yeah, but some of them, you know, people don't qualify. You know how right now, and then the excuses come out. Why? Because nor the company or the sales agent is trained or prides himself with tracking those types of things. Now, I'm not saying go track your sales and be super hard on your section. I am saying that. But more importantly, that's what led me to some of the things that we're going to go over. Now, when you work in one industry, you have profound knowledge in that industry. When you bounce around to 20 different industries for 14 years and dozens of companies, you get to walk in and see every intimate thing that's happening in everybody's household. That's a whole different matrix than being in one job. I have 20 years experience. You only worked in 3 industries, bro. You only worked at 7 companies. Go visit with 400 of them and then tell me if you feel the same about your belief systems, about your sales method, about your tracking. Now, the argument is this: what I do works. Of course it does. Everybody in here has a proven successful sales method. Mine, yours, Joe's, everybody, right? You've got experts in here. That doesn't mean that it works without adaptation. There are things that I wrote in scripts 6 months ago where I'm now listening to calls going, we're no longer using items 5, 6, and 7. Why? I can tell our customers starting to react differently. So here's what I'm getting at. Between 2008 and 2010, I was scrambling, trying to pick up as many clients as I could. Some paid me half, some I coached for free, just so I could get out there and get exposure and start, applying some of the things that I was studying, because I stopped studying sales. Let me say that again. I'm a sales expert who stopped studying sales material because of what I was noticing. What I was noticing was between 2008, 2010, and then exponentially afterwards. Customers were being sold 100 times more, thousands of times more. And whenever you're being sold or you're seeing something that frequent, over the phone and in person, many big ticket industries were now all over the phone. Didn't used to be like that before. So now you're over the phone, you're making appointments, you're scheduling things, sometimes meet with people. But when you're being sold, leads are more abundant. Equity is up. People are buying more cores, spending more money. People are hiring more sales agents. More sales agents are getting, I'm seeing all my friends are making money in real estate. Did you see the car that she just bought? All my friends are making money in mortgage. Did you see that 22-year-old drive, right? People flock to popular industries. What that does is it accelerates how quick your customers memorize how you sell. You have beautiful eyes. You have beautiful eyes. You have beautiful eyes. You have beautiful eyes. Eventually, it doesn't mean you have beautiful eyes anymore. It means, can I hit on you or not? Are you going to buy something or not? And so what I realized was 80% of the sales questions, words, transitions, closing techniques, rebuttals, you name it, the customers were starting to adapt to them. And even when you have the perfect product and the perfect service for your customer, still 60 to 70% of them are going, no, you know what, Joe? Everything sounds right. Well, did I explain it okay? Yeah, you explained it just fine. I just want to talk to my wife. I just want to think about, well, what's your wife going to have to say about it? Well, wouldn't you agree that you would, sales pattern. Joe, stop trying to close me for commission. And then it becomes awkward. It accelerated. So customers did not become expert shoppers. They got fucking tired of what you were taught. You could have the best intentions in the world, and your customer can't tell. Because if you sound like a player, walk like a player, talk like a player, dress like a player, guess what the world's going to say you are? A player. Joe has mastered this, the other Joe.
Right. But don't hate me, hate the game. Come on, man.
Don't hate you or the game. Just level up.
I concur,
right?
man.
So this doesn't mean everything that you say doesn't work. It works. You're still using it to do business. What I'm saying is ask yourself this question. If I close 3 out of 10 customers, that raises a question if you have a domination mindset. If that's too intimidating, or it's too much pressure, or you want to be like all the other 98% of the zombies in our country right now, then back away from pressure, right? Back away from pressure and go back to something more mainstream. Play the numbers game. I'm sure companies are going to love how many leads they have to give you just to close one fucking deal. They're going to love that. So go back, reevaluate the way you communicate with your customer, and write down this question. Every time you're discussing something important or you're using a tactic or whatever the case may be, ask yourself, write it down, and then ask yourself this question. How many people in my industry say that? How many people in my industry say that? How many people in my industry greet their customer that way? I'm coaching a company right now that has over 500 sales agents across the country. They still talk about weather in the first 30 seconds. What are you doing? It's like, and you can hear a customer, yeah, it's really nice. It's really nice. So, you know, I just want to figure out what the fees are and what the customer cuts you off because it sounds like fake friendship. Even the rules of rapport have changed. You want to build rapport with somebody? Build rapport with somebody after you get to know them, not before you know them. You guys know what it feels like when you're out in public and somebody's being too friendly too quick. What are you thinking? Either you ain't got no friends and you're clinger level 10, or you're selling me something. What's the agenda? What do you want from me? When are you going to whip out your business card? How long is it going to be? You're only a few moments away. I can feel it in my bones. And so when I say customers are willing to buy, they become resistant because of the triggers and the words the sales agent is using. You know my famous example, Joe. You go shopping, I pick on the ladies. You go shopping. You're at the mall. You're in the mood to buy something. You might have an event coming up or just, you know, out there to refresh the page a little bit, some shopping therapy, whatever. Sales agent comes up to you. Hi, how are you? Good. Can I help you find anything specific? Are you looking for anything in particular? Look at my face even. You don't know any other words in the English language? When people visit your home, do you say, can I help you find anything in particular? So to a customer, what do those words mean? Is there any chance that you're going to buy anything from me today? They've literally used the same 5 or 6 lines. Go to every store. You can go to Gucci. You can go to wherever, Macy's. They all say the same thing. How can it be that there are thousands of salespeople in your industry and they all use the same approach? Because most sales skills are handed down to you. We live in a copycat culture. You know how many Middle Eastern friends I know that have a Hermes belt? Same fucking color. What the hell? What are you guys doing? I literally want to wear all Zara stuff now. I want to buy these things. I can't. I just can't buy it. Why? It looks great. Why? I just can't. I know how patterns work. Pretty soon, people cannot tell the difference in quality between me and another person or another man or another sales agent. And when a customer cannot tell the difference in working with you and working with someone else other than your bubbly personality, how do they shop? Price. They have to resort to price. So let's go over a few new rules. What did I cover so far? Easy economy, covered it. Lower performance is what I see during easier economies, which makes it tougher for you when you get into a more challenging economy. Now, the truth is you have to work on your conversion ratio. What does that mean? It means you have to reevaluate your skills. Now, let me make something clear. When I said I don't read sales books anymore, it doesn't mean all the fundamentals have changed. A lot of the fundamentals are still the same. We also know that about, if you do some research, about 98.5% of human behavior is the same. Why? Because about 98.5% of human DNA is the same. That's why I don't understand hate when it comes to religion, race, ethnicities, backgrounds, you name it, right? Because we're only about a 1.5% different. That's how they're able to control the masses, because they know this about you. How about you start knowing it about yourself? With that being said, you can continue to study these patterns and keep making your sales conversations more and more meaningful. I recommend my clients that we reevaluate our sales approach every 90 days because of something called economic velocity. The rate at which behavior and technology is changing in the economy. That was the one topic that got me on stage at Microsoft, not my sales skills. They were like, can you say that again at a dinner? I'm like, the rate at which things are changing in the economy compared to the rate at which people are learning and adapting are creating a division. I call it division the domination divide. That's why people like Bezos and Musk are able to dominate industries in 3 to 5 years, where these companies have been around for 100. One simple thing. They know that things are changing faster than ever. So they stay ahead of it. Instead of waiting to go broke, waiting for a recession, waiting to get fired, waiting to get laid off, and now you're back in reaction mode because you're a subject of your environment instead of creating your own. Rule number 1 of closing the new economy, in addition to all the things that you guys love and believe in and are working in your businesses, customers no longer tolerate the feeling of being sold. No longer tolerate the feeling of being sold. I see everybody nodding their head. However, if you use similar wording that other people in your industry use, then you are saying, I agree with that, but you are still a subject of it. You're in real estate, let me guess. You help get the most value in the least amount of time. You're in car business, let me guess. You want the person to come down and take for a test drive and set an appointment. When would you like to come down? When would you like to come down? When would you like to come down? You're in retail, let me guess. What brings you here today? Oh, okay. Oh, I love those shoes. Those are real. Where did you get those? Heard it before. We're tired of your fake fucking compliments. The customer can tell. As humans, we adapt fast and we build pattern. We recognize patterns very fast. Anybody who's single on the screen knows exactly what I'm talking about. I always say, if you can't tell the difference between one man and another, just take the richer one. Play the numbers game. I see Joe clapping over there. Hercules over there. All right. So they don't want to be sold. Here's what they do want. They want to be understood and then to understand. Now, let me break this down for you. What does this mean? That means do not make a decision. Do not convince, persuade, brag about your product, over embellish your features, your benefits, your advantages, and all that old school bullshit until you know everything there is to know about your customer when it comes to this decision. Now, here's a takeaway. Take a look at your conversation flow. Instead of writing a sales flow, a call flow, or a qualification process, here's what you're going to start writing. Start writing a decision-making process. Because from A to Z, your customer needs to experience that you're not just a product expert. You're not in sales. You are there to help them make the right decision, whether it includes you or not. But yet every time they mention something that you can help with, you try to plug in. You have this like closer's anxiety, like fucking desperation for their money. You have to have the mindset of, when we're done talking, we'll decide together whether or not this is the right thing for you, right time for you, right product for you, right price range for you. I'm going to help you make that decision today. And if it is, then we'll take a look at it together. And if it's not, we'll keep in touch and you're welcome to reach out to me anytime. Can you start your conversation that way? And then stick to it. Because I go, people, Joe, I use that intro. I'm like, yeah, but you keep plugging in. You keep plugging in along the way, taking every little jab you can to go. And that's why a lot of our customers, and that's why I like this product. I'm glad you mentioned that, because sell, sell, sell. Come on, man. I'm trying to make a decision here for my family and you keep smelling like commission. Can you control yourself long enough? Can you really, really put your customer first? Or you just put that shit on your website and your business card? Don't worry about the money. Okay, so rule number 1, customers don't want the feeling of being sold. They want to be understood and then to understand. Here's a big one, straight out of my domination selling course. So I'm listening to phone calls in dozens of companies. A couple years go by, and I'm getting a little frustrated with myself because I'm at companies for like 4 or 5 or 6 months, and I'm still hearing hundreds of calls from customers where it totally makes sense. We're solving a problem or whatever the case may be. And they're still like, let me think about it. Well, just give me a couple days. If you could email me some of the information, you know, and give me a day or two, and please include your phone number. When I hear that, I'm like, we fucking lost it. Now I'm going to chase them like a little bee for 6 days. I'm like, why is this happening? Why do people tell me, yes, no, it makes sense. I totally get it. I definitely like it. I think it's something that, would work well for us. I just don't like to make decisions right away. I just want to sleep on it and talk to my wife. She gets, I talk to my wife about this too, and all these things. That's fine. It's okay for them to think that way. There's nothing wrong with that. But I'm like, why is this happening? Why is this happening? So again, what do I study? Well, don't go study sales material. Why? Because you're gonna start again getting bombarded by the same things that 20 million other salespeople are out there studying. So what do? Start studying modern research on consumer behavior. Start studying things like Gallup, Forbes research. Start studying Harvard Business Review in the areas of organizational behavior. Start looking at trends like Gary Vee. Does he read? No. I just look at trends. What do? I just watch people and see what they do. Well, I was listening to customers. And every time we would use these old closing techniques, there would be this awkwardness. But it works for me, Joe. You close 20%, bruh. How come you ain't bragging about the other 5 to your mother-in-law that you lost? How come you ain't coming home? How was your day, honey? Good. Closed the deal today. I lost 7, but I closed one. You've been fucking doing this for 7 years, Henry. Why are you still closing 20%? Everybody's stuck in the matrix of mediocrity. Well, because I get rewarded for closing 20%. It's better than the other guys. And you're capable of 30 or 40. So here's the second rule I wanted to share with you, stemming off of that phenomena. Why does it make sense and they still want to wait? And I go, got it. Customers, this is for your notes, customers are not decision-making experts. They are only experts in what they're experts in. So if I'm talking to, let's say, a stockbroker and talking about a financial decision in the market, they might go, yo, makes sense, Joe. Let's do it. Yep, crystal clear. Let's do it. But if I'm talking to a school teacher, asking her to make a decision about her home, car, or financial services, or whatever the case may be, and I'm asking for her business, so what do you think? Is this something you'd like to move forward with? Cut it. Broken rule. Break it. Do not ask people for their business. Joe, you gotta ask people for their business. Oh, I've never heard that before. Jerry? Here's what you do instead. You make the decision after you've taken all the time to understand every possible thing you can learn about your customer, their circumstances, their situation, their family, their priorities, their budget, their future income, their past income, their savings, whatever it is. Choose at least 7 to 10 more topics than is required in your industry. Let me say that again. Choose at least 7 to 10 more topics or questions than are required or standard in your industry. That will guarantee that you understand and get to know your customer better than anyone else. And it's called a silent commitment in domination selling. When you understand me more than anyone else understands me, I date you. But that guy was taller, but this guy was richer, but you understand me. And because you understand me more than anyone else, you have the authority to tell me what I should do. Starting to make sense? And then I ask the person if they understand why it makes sense. So I assume to close. You have horrible timing. Why? You get done with your lecture, you talk about your product for 8 minutes, and then you assume the close. You got horrible timing, man. Why? I've seen your conversion ratio. Assume the close. Yeah, assume the close after you've explained the decision, not the features, not the benefits. So when you want to educate, we're going to talk about educating your customer next. You don't want to educate on the product. You want to educate on the impact. You can't educate on impact it's going to have on someone's life or reputation or image or future if you haven't gotten to know everything that you need to know about those areas. I recently bought a Mercedes. I was talking to Joe about it. I upgraded my S-Class to the newer S-Class. I went to one of the most popular Mercedes dealerships in the country. They didn't ask me one question about me. Why? Their condition, they're all entitled. Which call? What did you want to look at? Oh, yeah. They ask you a few qualifying questions. How soon are you looking to make a purchase? Can you act any more desperate? Can you please not give a shit more than that? How soon are you looking to, what are you looking for, a laydown, bro? Nobody asked me what I do. Nobody asked me how often I drive. Nobody asked me my family, kids, this, that, where I'm from, nothing. They go to the computer, put their bifocals on, numbers, and then they assume the close. 60% of the people walk away. In a perfect economy, it's easy to sell anything. There's a 10% rule that Gallup Foundation put out one year I thought was interesting. And it said 10% of your customers were going to buy anyway. It just happened to be your turn. You're the one who picked up the phone. You're the one who walked up. They already wanted to buy. Still, some people mess this up. And so if you have a 15% closing ratio, it really means you have a 5% closing ratio. Think about that. A lot of the people already knew what car they wanted to buy before they went to the dealership. Right, Joe? It still takes consulting and getting to know your customer. You're winning the customer over by understanding their needs and creating some sense of loyalty between us. Enjoyability. Right? However, in some industries, we still lean too much on our product. I'll tell you what I mean. Your next rule. So the second one there is your customers are not expert decision makers. Don't wait for them to make a decision. You make the decision and explain the decision based off of what you learned. The next one, do not over-educate your customer. You got to educate your customer, Joe. Educate your customer. That rule, hear me out, that rule was designed before the internet. You're literally inspiring and teaching your customer how to shop. Plus, anything you overemphasize in this new economy becomes questionable. If I overemphasize my reputation as a coach, it becomes questionable. You head to the internet or you ask around. If I overemphasize that I'm giving you the best deal, there's no other deal. This is the lowest rate. This is the lowest payment. You're not going to find it anywhere. You immediately become questionable. I'd rather ask the person this. I want you to make the right decision for your family, no doubt. I want you to have the best payment. But how do you feel about working with me so far? How do you feel about working with me so far? Okay. Would you believe me that I feel that this is not only the right car, but the right price for you? Or the house, or the refinance, or whatever. How do you feel about working with me so far? I don't want to force something down their throat. I want to remind them who they're working with here. So these are all just little nuances of how this gets demonstrated. But I see all the time people get to their close and they start talking numbers and this and that and features and benefits and add-ons. And when you overload somebody with information, somebody who was excited just 10 minutes ago, just excited to get their cash or to better save for their future or to pick up a new car, you overwhelm them with these things. You are taking them from a state of clarity to a state of confusion and giving them way too many things to think about. And then you're like, what do you mean? What do you mean you want to think about it? You came here to buy today, right? I did, but I'm feeling awkward. You're going like this, and I'm going, bad timing, dude. And you smell. You get it? So that was a big one for us.
I was on mute and laughing my ass off. I apologize.
Because
that was
bro.
you leaned in. You leaned in. I wasn't ready. I
Dude,
wasn't
I
ready.
saw you leaning in, Joe. You almost freaking knocked over your camera, man.
Hey, Joseph, let me ask you a question. Have you ever dealt with people that had their attitude being a little better? Like, for example, the car guy. Why didn't you walk away from that deal if you didn't feel he was doing his job properly?
Say that again.
When you went to buy the Mercedes,
that
was just like not pleasant, I guess. But you still.
I walked away from him. I walked away from 6 people at that dealership. All 6 of them. In fact, because what it came down to was, look, for me, I was disgusted. Not with the person being a bad person or a good person. He was actually a really nice guy. I was disgusted with the sales approach.
The process.
So for me, it immediately became about what now? Price. That was it. So I was headed to Riverside. 6 weeks later, I was ready to buy on a Saturday. Some new kid, nice kid, I'm like, I already test drove the car. He's like, you want to test drive it? I'm like, are you new? He's like, yeah. I'm like, come on, man, I'll go with you. Let's go. I got excited because he's a new dude in sales. I'm like, all right, this is cool. I enjoyed it. I didn't tell him what I did. He's taking me around. He's being super nice. Everybody seems to be when they're new.
Mm-hmm.
You know? And then we get back to the office and his manager takes over the deal, comes in. Nice to meet you. Nice to meet you. Right? I'm like, here we go. You see what I mean? Then gets pissed. And then they take their folder with the pricing and they put it in the drawer so you can't take it with them. So fucking stupid. Right? And so it came down to it. Randomly, he calls me. I'm on my way to Riverside because my cousin who brokers deals hooked me up with a better deal on the car I wanted. And then he calls me, and I don't want to drive all the way to Riverside. It's like 4 p.m. It's going to take like 2 hours. But I'm like, screw it. I don't care. Right? I can have a cup of coffee with somebody and still not buy a car from them. So he randomly calls me. I don't know how. He's like, hey, I'm just checking on you. It's been a couple of days. I'm like, I'm on my way to Riverside. He goes, why? I'm like, they offered me the down that I wanted. He goes, well, I can do that too. I'm like, man, I was in your office for a half a day. Well, all I had to do was do this, do that. Your payment's going to be, I'm like, I don't care about the payments. It's a business thing. He goes, okay, I'll get it ready for you. So it basically came down to that. It came to that. I bought because of numbers, not because of people. Bottom line. And I'll tell him. And I also think he's a really cool dude. But in that experience as a customer, I can only see how that's affecting the scalability of the organization. Nonetheless, good stuff. Good question. So, all right, here's another one. We were on the topic of educating your customer. Double check the time. And so, well, how do I build value, Joe? How do I build value? Well, here's how you build value. You build value by asking more questions about your customer than anyone else. This is a fundamental that's been true for a long time. The difference is make sure you're not getting your questions from your industry. Make sure they're not industry questions. Sit down, grab a pad of paper, bullet point your conversation, kind of how it goes, the structure of how it goes, and ask yourself, how can I say this more meaningfully? How would I introduce myself to somebody if I was just meeting a new friend? What would I like to know about somebody upon first meeting them in a social situation? What other topics might this person take into consideration that have nothing to do with my product that I might be curious about? Maybe it's how long they've been in their career for. Maybe it's how old their kids are. Maybe it's, what they bought last time or what was the reason for it. Maybe how is their life is going to change in the next 3 to 5 years? Is their income going to change in the next 3 to 5 years? Right? Whatever the case may be, I'm just shooting out questions from different industries that I coach, right? And getting to know them so that I can help them make the best decision. One thing's going to be for sure, Mr. Jones, is I'm going to get to know you. We'll probably be friends somewhat, you know, at some level. You're always welcome to keep in touch with me. And if I have the right decision for you today, we'll talk about it. And if it's not, then I'll keep in touch with you anyway. It has to be that type of mindset. Now your value shifts, because what I notice in every industry is they like to educate too much on the product. Now, let's say I know everything about my product, but only 2 of these things are important to my customer. If I start over-educating on every area of my product, this person is going to sniff my sales patterns. But if I only base it on questions, I know there's only 2 things about this product, 3 things that are most important to my customer. Why would I mention 12? 12 is going to inspire him to do what? Shop.
Well, he has to now go back and find out what it is you introduced to him.
Yep, that too.
Right? Because if I don't understand what this feature was or what you just puked all over me, I have to go do my research.
Well, the other thing, Joe, is I'm sure you've seen this, is now you know what, doctors do this all the time. I live in Orange County, California, okay? I could literally throw a tennis ball to like 8 cosmetic centers right here. All right, I could probably hit them in between their eyes. And they bring me in. And they're like, we have a lot of no-shows. People are getting these Groupon deals and all these things at every place. And I'm like, dude, customer comes in, you start bragging about your work. The magazines that you're in, you know what you're doing, right? Like, you might be no more expensive than anybody else, but you're creating the perception that your product is so good, it must be expensive. Nobody complains about our price. No, they just leave. Duh. So people get really romantic about their product. I did. I still do sometimes. And I'm like, whoa, just because I created it doesn't mean it's the most important thing in the world for this other person. So I started changing the way they set their appointments, less no-shows. I started asking 5 to 7 questions on that phone call. I don't want you to come in yet. Why? I don't want to set an appointment. Why? I need to get to know you a bit to make sure that we're a good fit for you. Boom, 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 boom. Okay, now it seems like a good fit. Now the person's more likely to show up. Instead of just, okay, yeah, when would you like to come in? Just, who trained you? I mean, most people don't realize that these things have to happen to their defense. If you're not aware of it, then that's one thing. But if you become aware of it, now it's on you. If you hear the things I'm talking about today, and you're like, I'm confused, I'm not sure how to do this, and you do nothing, that's on you. What do? I sit down with a keyboard or a piece of paper, and I start coming up with ideas. And then I ask myself, if I were the customer, would this be something meaningful to me? Would it be natural? Would it be something that I feel is important? Would I bond with this person? I love building rapport, Joe. I'm a people person. Great. Let me see your fucking conversion ratio. Everybody likes you. I really like you. Thank you so much for spending time with me. I really appreciate. You hear my tonality? I really about to leave your ass right now. Do you have a business card? Oh, you done lost them. For sure. You know what I mean? So instead of going, dude, what do I say at that point? It's not what do you say at that point. Let's go back to the very beginning of the relationship and create a much more meaningful experience for your clients and your future customers based on some of the things that we discussed and some of the things that you're going to learn from other leaders in the group and other leaders out there. I hate it when people go, are you claiming to be the best sales coach? I'm like, fuck yeah. No, I'm just kidding. I don't say that. I'm more like, Joe's over there. I'm more like, I don't know if I'm the best. I'm like, why don't you look at the industry that you're in, go listen to people and get something from everybody and then find a way that works. Modify. Become a hybrid of your natural character and tactics that you think make sense in your industry or in your approach. I don't believe in that concept of being like loyal to one sales trainer, right? People ask me, dude, are you going to be like, you know, some of the people I'm meeting with now are like, dude, like this might be better than Grant Cardone. I'm like, better or worse makes no difference to me. You can learn something from everybody. The biggest mistake is to hear what we're saying and be one of those people who do this stuff just for popularity and for conversational and to fit in, and then actually have no study time or implementation time where you take action on it. You, like me, you got to wait till something in the economy happens before, bam, you get slapped and you're like, oh boy, my paycheck just went by 40%. And it's embarrassing. I don't want to return my car. I don't want to do this. I don't want to leave my apartment. I don't want to have da-da-da-da. And you start thinking about all these things. And what your mind, what the world is really telling you is you are not competitive enough to withstand or be resilient in any circumstance. You're a great person and you mean well. And you probably have great relationships too and done some really cool things. However, from an economic standpoint of view, you have to accelerate your skills, especially in sales, at a rate much faster than you ever have before. Maybe the bigger lesson is not what are some lines you can teach me, Joe? What are some skills you can get from the group? Maybe the bigger question is, the biggest realization is, I have to allocate 2 to 4 hours a week constantly searching and reinventing my communication skills so that I can become resilient and nothing really has an impact on me when everybody's stressed and I keep cruising. Maybe that's it. That's the domination mindset really that you should have. Raise your standards. Don't compare yourself to other people in your industry. Don't celebrate when you get a trophy, maybe for a minute, get your high fives, and then be like, oh God, this is what Joe was talking about. They're celebrating my success and now I'm going to get stuck because I'm so cool now that my learning is going to slow down. That's the danger zone. And if you're operating in a domination mindset. Let's open it up for a minute for some questions. Who do we got out there? What are we doing? A couple more minutes. Yep. Anybody? Don't be scared.
No, Natalie will have a question. She always does.
Go ahead, Natalie. I think I scared everybody. Why you guys acting like a bunch of chickens?
I think it's the lack of hair scares them. Now, Derek shouldn't be scared at all. Right, because he's with you.
Yeah. I don't know, man. I don't know. I think who would even be even scarier is Mo if he shaved his head. I think about shaving his head, right? Here we go. Another bald guy with a beard. We don't need any more of those, dude.
Right.
It's already bad enough that everybody's got their hair. The guys with
I'd
hair,
look like a complete alien. At least you could pull it off.
No, dude, you're not gonna look like an alien. But there's two popular hairstyles right now, like copycat culture men, right?
Yeah.
There's the one where you're shaved on the side and long on top. No point intended, Mo or anybody else.
Mo did it himself, man. Quarantine. That's what happens.
There's the bald look with the beard, which we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of those, right? And then we got the guy who's still stuck in the 90s, like Joe. Right?
Yes.
Just
70s. I'm gonna feather it. That's my next look. Yes.
Man, you up there, bro? You up there?
Yeah.
So good stuff. Any other questions?
Joe, I have a quick question. I liked what you said about really connecting with the customer and understanding them before you're understood. What are some good questions that you ask to connect with your customer? Do you have a process for that?
Well, it depends on the industry. Because what I do is I put the industry in the middle, the product in the middle, and I go, listen to me, write this down. What other 5 to 7 areas of their life might this have an impact on or might be taken into consideration when making a decision? Like if this person's married, I'm going to be including questions about that ahead of time. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
If this person works 3 jobs, I'm going to know way before the close. If this person has a 3-year-old and I know that they're single, I'm going to know how many days of the week do you have your kid? Why? Because that might impact the decision. You see what I'm saying? Yeah. So I start to outline categories, but I use a transition. Transitions are purpose-driven statements that give your customer clarity on the questions that you ask. Well, I might tell a customer, hey, while we're hanging out, I'd like to get to know you a bit. And if there's something here and we feel like it's going to be a great decision for you, then we'll talk about it. And that then gives me the authority. Down. Yeah. Now I can start, now I also organize my questions in what I call a progression, meaning I don't often start with hard questions. I start with soft questions and build up to intimate questions. So one of the mistakes that people do in different industries is they start with qualification questions that are they're too strong. You know, I coach a lot of mortgage industries. They literally start, they think their application was designed by a sales professional. It wasn't. It was designed by a techie or an underwriter. You don't start a conversation with how's your credit.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Or those types of prejudging type factors and whatnot. You don't start a question with what's your budget. That means I'm literally only here to collect money from you. You start your conversation with questions that you would if you're meeting somebody out in public, socially. And it doesn't include how's the weather. Come on, know what's a sales pattern and what's actually sincere, and so forth. So we like to start with things like, you know, where they work or where they're from, or married, single, what do you do, blah, blah, blah. You get it? How long you've been in the area, whatever seems appropriate for your industry, but not overboard. You also don't want to be the sales agent whose conversation is so long that now the customer's got to leave. Or they associate every time they talk to you, it takes so long to talk to you. The average conversations that I designed, if I had to go every industry, all inclusive, would be 18 minutes from front to back. Good question.
Thank you.
I'm sorry.
Go ahead, Luigi.
When you go through this conversation process, can you walk us through, if you can, a couple of examples or the things that you do in order to get to that goal? I like how you said, like, hey, this is a map, you know, we want to make a decision, an outcome-based decision. I really enjoy that. So if you can talk a little bit about that.
Yeah. Here, let me do this. I got a whiteboard over there. Is there a whiteboard on this thing, man?
I think so.
Yeah, I believe so.
I don't know if you guys mess with that or you just want me to try to draw it on paper.
You gotta make him a co-host and then he'll be able to see it.
Yeah, I made you co-host earlier. Did you see that one?
Did you? Oh yeah, you did. Oh, you know what? I can't do it on this anyway. It's not gonna look right because I can't use my pen thing. It's on my other computer. So let me just draw this up for you. I'm just gonna do a basic.
Hey Joe, hit share on Zoom and then a whiteboard feature pops up.
I know I'm an expert on Zoom, but I want to be able
but he would have to use his own little mouse as a pencil.
Yeah, I don't want to use the mouse and I won't be able to get detailed enough. So I'll just do it like this. Let me see. Can you guys see this? Hang on a second.
Hopefully it still works, you know, so.
Just right on the wall. I mean, it's your apartment. I don't care.
You guys see that at all?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Somewhat. I'll go a little bit low. Is that a permanent marker? Crap. I don't know.
I hope not.
Nope. Here's one that works right here. So here's how I structure a conversation. Intro. Break the ice, about 60 seconds. Basic questions, non-intrusive questions, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Then I go to discovery questions. Now I'm getting deeper questions, right? These usually involve things like life, time, money factors, not related to my product necessarily, but outlying factors. From here, if I have to run credit or something, I do that. I'll just put an X right there. Then I set up the close. What's the setup? Setup is usually taking 7 to 10 facts or reasons of what I learned from getting to know this individual, right? And then I transition into what I'm going to recommend. These I call unarguable facts. These are not features of your product. These are not, future goals that you mentioned or whatever the case may be. These are basically things that came from your customer's mouth. So that means your customer has already had what I call self-realizations about them all throughout the conversation. Things that they told me about their life, time, money, past, present, future, that make what I recommend a perfect decision. Why 7 to 10? I'll give you $1 billion secret. $1 billion secret right here, because Joe Ingram's a good guy. The mind can only multitask 3 to 5 thoughts at a time. If I try to sell this person on features, advantages, and benefits, it's a sales pattern, claiming that my product is the best because. If I use 5 to 7 facts that the customer told me about their life that are supporting evidence of the decision, now I can ask, do you understand why this is a good decision? I call them unarguable facts because they don't come from my industry, they don't come from my product, and they don't come from me. Who do they come from?
The customer.
The customer. I can't have that type of close if I'm only pre-qualifying and bragging about my fucking product. I have to assume the close using the same common denominator bullet points I do with everybody. So now you have this cookie cutter close, and it works. It works, Joe. It's been working. It's been working in a perfect economy, and go freaking measure your conversion ratio. Are you practicing and perfecting a closing style that loses 60% of your business? But because you're in sales, like many other people in sales, including myself, you have selective memory. You tell baby about the ones you closed, not the ones you didn't.
Right. And I was a hero on those. Boom. Killed them. Killed them, man.
This guy came in today. He was this and this and that. I closed him.
Yeah.
That's why I have a funny video online, Joe, about where I talk about married couples. I'm like, when you come home, there should be a whiteboard in the kitchen. And instead of being like, how was your day? Everything good? What do you think we should have for dinner? I'm like, you married to a sales agent? I don't care if it's a woman or man.
Right.
I'm like, yo, you've been at your job for 2 years. Yeah. So how many leads did you get today? Oh, 7. I knew it was 7. Why? I asked your manager to email me. How many were qualified? 4. How many did you close? I mean, I've got a lot of follow-up. It takes time. It takes time in the pipeline. Babe, it's been 18 months. Hello? Fuck, I should have listened to my mother. Should have married George.
Yep.
Right?
Yeah. He was always a hustler. Yeah.
Now, obviously, I'm exaggerating and making it into a fun conversation, but you lack visual accountability in your career. When we leave school, there's no more report card. Can you imagine if you're hanging out with your friends on a Friday night and they're like, okay, before we start dinner, I just need to see everybody's performance. Why? Well, I mean, you're cute, you're cool, I love you, but I'm trying to level up in life and I don't want to fucking be around people who don't make progress.
True that.
Go ask anybody in a good economy. How things going? We're good, man. Growing, we're hiring. We're closed a lot of business now. We're up to, I love hearing those stories. I'm like, oh, that's great. That's great. You really going to walk up to somebody in a good economy? How's business? Man, we're having a lot of challenges right now. I had to, you know what I mean? Like our conversion ratios aren't the greatest. Nobody says that. That's why I love these economies for training, because the egos go away and people start listening.
So, with the whole situation going on, what are you doing as far as like trying to drum up business? What are you doing differently? And what do you think is going to happen next quarter?
Well, the way my new lead generation campaign is really, really difficult for most people to do. I threaten to blow up people's homes.
Oh, so you like escalating things.
Coach Mo, you can do that. Yeah.
I'm like, oh, you don't want training? I'll blow up your home. No, I'm kidding. So rephrase your question. What exactly are you asking me?
Okay, so what's with everything that's going on, what are you going to do different when everything opens up?
What am I going to do different? Well, I'm constantly doing things differently. I think my weakness is that I got addicted to being on the road with clients and physically coaching companies. And I've used that as my excuse to not have enough time to go digital. So, and it's so funny. I tell my friends, this is probably a funny note to close on, but a couple of months ago, I was literally praying and I was like, God, just lock my ass up at home, man. Just lock my ass up at home. Stop
all your fault?
Huh?
This is all your fault then, huh?
I'm telling you, man, my friends are like, see what you did now, bro? He said, my friends were like, now we're all locked up because of you. But I was like, lock me up, because I need to have more presence. And I think I was literally just on a video call with Dan Fleischman right before this one. And we were talking about how he's been saying for years, it doesn't matter what you do, like get a massive social presence. Even if you don't do your lead generation that way, there's a 70% chance your customer is going to go look you up somewhere. And if there's tons of cool information surrounding you, then you're just going to be, he called it top of mind selection. Who's the first person I think of when I think of, training in the car industry? It's Joe Ingram. I don't know anybody else that has that much experience in that industry. Who is the first person I think of when it comes to jewelry business? One of my buddies, he's been in it for years. He knows you see what I'm saying? So it's sort of become, at least a little bit more relevant in my community and in yours, whatever that is. Yeah. I mean, there are some people now who they just get it. You're on a car lot, or, you're a real estate agent, or you work in retail, or you're a consultant of some type. Create a Facebook or just a normal profile, create profiles just to be friends with your customers. Right?
Yeah.
So that they can start to see all of the other cool things that you're doing with your customers and with your friends. So this is all social proof. So I'd say if there's one area that I'm constantly improving, it's not just my sales swagger. I'm constantly rescripting, constantly listening. In 20 minutes, I'm back online with another company with over 100 sales agents, and we're revamping their sales flow from A to Z. We've only been working on it now for 6 weeks, and we're just starting to get messages from their sales agents now who are listening to their before and after pictures, and they're like, wow, I'm 1,000 times better. So no matter what industry you're in, all of us individually can be doing that. You are a coach in your own business. All it means is you go, you study, you pay attention. It's amazing to me how many people are in sales and they don't review anything.
Joe, what would you put on Facebook that you would share with your potential clients? Like, would you, because my personal Facebook is open right now. So it's got my children, my dogs, my everyday life, funny memes.
Topics surrounding my business and a little bit of family. So what I learned is you go like business, 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 family, business, 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 family, business, 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 family. A cool article that you're posting about something that you learned about your business, a tool to help your customers shop, a quick tip of the day that you wrote because you don't feel like doing a video, pictures with your clients or cool things that you've done along the way. One of the mistakes I did is I go business, 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 and nobody sees my fun side. And he's like, what are you doing? He's like, it's like you get bored after a while watching the same thing. I can only see so many pictures. Like I tell my fitness friends, how many fucking videos of a person on the beach can I watch doing lunges? There's no value anymore. You're all just doing the same exercises over and over and over. Like, I'm not going to choose you. So if you were going to incorporate it into your personal, it would be some business topic, helpful topic. None of these topics are asking for business. That's the secret. None of them ask for business. I'm sure you realize that. Call me if you need, or at the very end. And if you need help with this, I love it, especially when I meet people in real estate. It's so funny how some of the most important industries in our country have the worst sales habits. Have the worst. Doesn't mean, I'm not saying bad person. I'm saying lack of awareness of what good skill really is. Anything else before we cut out?
No, I was going to say, I need to be respectful of your time, Joe, as well as everybody else's. So we're seeing people drop off. That's completely okay because we're running past. But I do want to say thank you, Joe, because, dude, you dropped the hammer. You brought the knowledge. And I know I've taken a page of notes, and I started putting a little diagram on the side because I didn't want to go to 2 pages. It's like, no, I'm going to stick to 1 page.
Yeah.
But,
so what you're saying, Joe, is that Joseph only deserves 1 page of notes?
That's all it is. That's all it is.
Ego
I'm like, come on now. Yeah.
No, Joe,
I mean, I did 3, so I guess I like him better than you, Ingram.
Right.
Yes. Thank you very much for your time, Joe. This has been great. Joseph, thank you very much for the knowledge.
Got it. Thank you, guys. Joe, I owe you lunch next time, and I'll pick your brain then.
I'm always game. You know that. And we're gonna go to the same place below your crib.
Probably gonna have to eat it at home this week. All right,
Thanks,
guys.
everybody. Have a great day.
Thank you. Thank you, guys.
Appreciate you,
Take
Joe.
care.
Good night.
Thank you.
Everybody,
Bye.
be safe.